Today on Sister to Sister, it's going to be a terrific show. We have great questions.
Like, what do you value? And as a Christian, how do you know you're right?
And is it always important to win the argument?
Of course.
Stay tuned, find out what the sisters think. Well, hello and welcome to Sister to Sister. If you've never joined us before, we are a bunch of women. we are opinionated women, and we bring it. We really do. We have answers to the world's questions from a biblical point of view. And we are excited today because Sydney Goldman is joining us. Hey, Sid.
So glad you're coming.
Hi.
Sisters.
Yep. Pastor Amy is out of town today, so we're happy that you're with us. And don't be afraid to jump in.
I'm ready to jump.
All right, good. Good. Well, the questions today, we always have current questions, and this one is a really good one. And it goes like this. Considering our culture today, is it possible to celebrate our differences instead of having them divide us? And we are divided, yow. Is it possible?
Oh,
Roxy.
yes, I think it's absolutely possible, because even the Apostle Paul, who I love to read his writing, says, I have become all things to all people, so that by any possible means I may win some. He didn't just go in and preach his culture or his word. He became part of the culture. And I'm so thankful for the heritage that I grew up in. My grandfather on my mother's side and my grandmother on my father's side were both very multicultural. He had a restaurant, he had Greeks, he had African American, he had Italians, he had all sorts of cultural mixes. So we grew up with that mindset. My grandmother, everybody was welcome into her kitchen. You know, they had those big kitchens with the big tables, and all the neighbors came in. They shared recipes, they shared their lives. And so, such a rich heritage, we find places to have common ground, whether it's food, whether it's laughter, whether it's sorrow, whether it's problems. So I'm so thankful for that. So when we find some common ground, we can then celebrate differences.
Culturally, yes, but there's so many differences. Well, Sydney, do you want to jump into this?
Yeah, like I really like what Roxy was saying about, you know, finding that common ground. And I think it's really about being intentional. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that you have to be intentional about surrounding yourself around people that look different than you, think different than you. In all aspects, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable and knowing that people have different opinions, or the way they live their lives are differently. And so for myself, I've been really intentional about surrounding myself around people that think differently than me. Even in my church, I'm very big on, like, I need diversity, you know what I mean? Because I think what's happening with our culture right now is because it's what's spoken in Revelation. The enemy is coming against that at every nation, tribe, and tongue. We're all going to be together. So I think that's what we see right now in our culture, is just everybody's going at it. But it's really because of what God wants to do, is bring us all together. And I think you also have to educate yourself. Like, I love watching documentaries on just different things and seeing how people think. Even I watch documentaries on, like, the KKK, and just to see, like, this is how they think, this is what they view, but how can I, if I approach or I come across someone who thinks different than me, how do I show love even in the midst of that?
Well, all you have to do is go on social media and you find big differences. And I saw a post that said, oh yeah, let's just spend our time on the internet just fighting with people. And that's the truth. It doesn't help. Corey, are you fighting with people?
No, and I left Facebook over a year ago.
That's right,
because
that's right.
it wasn't about the differences of opinion. It was how people hide behind social media and say things that would never say when you're face to face with a person. And I just think, like you said, it's just so much more important, because when you're, shoulder to shoulder with someone or face to face with someone, it's just such a different experience than it is if you're, in the cyber world. So
well, that brings me to the next question, though, because I said, do you fight with people over differences? But how important is it to win an argument?
I don't think that it's important at all. I think it's about coming into agreement. So I guess it's how you view winning an argument, because the goal is to get someone to see your perspective, and of course you want to see their perspective. So it's more about coming into agreement and going from there.
Right. Well, you know how you always give a scripture for things. Right. Well, last night when I was reviewing our questions and then I was looking into my scriptures for things, I found one. And here's what it is. It's Proverbs 19:21. I'm so happy to find something that makes sense for this. And this is not winning an argument, but it's about being right all the time and thinking that your plans, you're the only one that can make a decision on things. And God speaks to us and says, many are the plans in a person's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails. So sometimes you think you're right. You're really not.
Well, there's actually like a ton of proverbs specifically about quarreling, being quarrelsome, you know, arguing. There's Proverbs 15.
You have one?
I have a bunch. 15:18. A hot-tempered person stirs up conflict, but the one who is a patient calms a quarrel. 16:32, better a patient person than a warrior, one with self-control than one who takes a city. And then chapter 20, verse 3, it's to one's honor to avoid strife, but every fool is quick to quarrel. And I guess I would at times label myself a fool because I can be a believe it or not, I can be a quarrelsome person. I actually thought my husband maybe wrote this question in to the producer because since I was a little girl, I have always wanted to win arguments.
Well, you have strong
I should have been a lawyer. I really should have, because I've always wanted to win arguments, whether it's the dumbest thing in the world or it's like the deepest thing. It's just like in me that I have to win this argument. Right. And it causes a lot of strife in relationships with my husband, with my kids, with my family and friends, because the need to win overtakes like love, relationship, anything else. It becomes so important that you forget half the time I forget what we're even like arguing about. Right. I just like need to win. So I needed to really, it was good for me to have this question because seeing all this wisdom in Proverbs about like, just don't.
And on the balance of that, good, fair argument, I think leads to truth. I think it's the intent of the heart. Are you intending to arrive at the truth? Are you intending just to win because of your pride?
I think the pride.
So I think argument, you know, I learned in law school the Socratic method, where actually we did argue cases. We argued back and forth points of law, points of fact, so that eventually, hopefully, we came to the truth. But it wasn't the intent merely to win, and most lawyers want to win anyway, no matter what.
Right.
But it was the intent to come to the truth of the subject. So if our intent is good, healthy argument, I think, is good for us.
But do you win an argument, Sid?
So this like question, I'm like, oh, because I'm kind of argumentative when it comes to yes, and you could ask my husband sometimes. So like for me, it's just like sometimes it's being very strong-willed, and I think that the intention of the heart, I'm like, I need to be right. And sometimes I have, and like recently, God has just been really pruning me in that area. It's like sometimes you need to just be, you know, don't speak. You got to be slow to speak and just to listen. And I think it is all about the intention. And, you know, if you're trying to be right, and it's not a good in relationships.
Oh, you girls are so real today. Yes, well, how real are you with this? What do you value in life?
Winning arguments.
Corey, I know. You do.
No question.
I mean, what do I value in life? It was nice to kind of sit down and think about this because I was like, what do I value? And actually, one of my favorite verses, I think it's kind of like on our little bios for the sisters. It's just a couple verses after our iron sharpens iron verse. Right. It's Psalm 17, or Proverbs 17:19. As water reflects the face, so does one's life reflect the heart. So I think, sometimes what we think we value and what we actually are showing in our lives that we value doesn't necessally line up, and that's important to do. But I think when it comes to what I value, I'm not one that values stuff a lot. I value experiences. So I'm in the Mary and Martha scenario, like I am not the Martha in the kitchen. Like I'm like, fine, go ahead, somebody else clean the kitchen. Like I want to be in the experience. I don't care if the house is a mess. I'm like, come on, everyone come over, let's enjoy the time. So I think I value those experiences over the actual.
Wow, and I'm the Martha in the kitchen. Okay. That's We sit next to each other.
Right.
We balance
Okay.
each other out
Right.
awesomely. I
What
am
do you
the one.
value?
Well, you know, the Bible says where your treasure is, that's where your heart is.
Right.
So what do I spend my money on? What do I spend my time on? And the biggest thing that is difficult for me to get through the day is without reading God's Word. I mean, it's so difficult for me to, oh gosh, and not that you want to be legalistic about it, but have that peace, because I'm so Martha-ish in my heart, frustrated, I got to get this done, that done, everything's got to get accomplished. So it brings me peace. But the other things that I spend my time and money on are my family, my friends, and my church. So that, what I have to say, are the major things, and of course, my work.
So are you saying if you don't read your Bible every day, you don't have peace?
Yeah, something's missing.
Wow,
Something's
Roxy.
missing. So I'll be up at night with my phone, and my husband's, I got to just get a scripture, and maybe I'm a little legalistic about it. I don't know. I'll find that out. But I'm even there at night if I haven't got a chance to read with my phone on my Bible. Or
You're supposed to put your
or reading my phone.
No, do you know that you're supposed to leave your phone somewhere other
Yeah,
than
that's
in your
right,
bedroom?
in your
Hello.
bedroom. Right.
Well,
These
let me just jump in here
phones.
because it don't seem like it's coming this way right now.
I'm bringing it
All
to
right.
you. What do you value?
What does flow value? They gave you all the deep stuff. They gave you all the spiritual stuff, and I agree. But I have found that this season in my life, what I value is me. Because I done gave it.
That's good.
I have raised children. I enjoyed my single years. Yes, I did. I am not going to lie. I'm not waiting on my husband to die, but I did enjoy my single years. So, and in that time, my value was a little different. Then I got married and I had children, and that shifted, and my value was on my husband and my family, my children. And then, it came into that stage of the caregiving where I had my parents and life changed and I became the caregiver. And I really did value that time. I mean, if I could go back, I would get more of that time. So I did value that time. And now I'm in a season where it's me. And I am just so in love with me. And I am just discovering that I am God's wonderful crown creation, and I'm getting it now. So I don't know why the angels are still a little confused about it, but I'm getting a revelation here. So, yep, I am valuing me right about and through here. So I don't know how old you are, but learn a lesson in how to value you.
Oh my goodness.
You know what? I'm glad we're on the same side, because when you were saying your question, because I agree. I'm like the same way. Like me, I really value time, right? I really value time by myself. It's like that's time spent with God, and getting married. That I realized I didn't have as much me time. I'm an only child, but now I have the responsibility of my husband. But I'm the same way. I really am enjoying being by myself. It's me and Jesus, Googling, reading the Bible, whatever, going shopping. I enjoy it.
Well, you probably think that I'm teasing when I say this, but I really value you. I value you, that you watch our show. And stay right there. We're going to be back with lots more Sister to Sister right after this. Welcome back. You're watching Sister to Sister, and Sid Goldman's with us today. We are so excited, and we thank you for your input. Well, we thank you for watching us, but we thank you when you write to us, and you wrote to us with this question, and it's a tough one, and it's a deep question, and here it is. And you wrote, and you said, "Dear sisters, how do we know that we are right? All the other religions believe they are correct just as intensely as we do. How do we know we're the ones that found the way to God?" Good question, and we thank you. Okay, Sid, this is a tough one. I'm going to go to you.
So I actually just recently dealt with this. My cousin's girlfriend, she's in college right now. She's in a religion class, and she wanted to talk to me because she's learning about all the different religions, and I went through a similar situation that happens a lot, in secular universities. And the one thing that she said to me, she's like, everybody, it seems like who are the Christians had light and their joy on their face. She's like, but I'm not religious. I don't really know what I believe. Then I just had to go in and explain to her why we have joy, and it's because of the joy of Christ and what he did for us on the cross. And I just straight from there told told her about the gospel, and I said, you know, I think the one thing with all the other religions, right, all their gods stayed on the mountain, but we have the only God that came down from the mountain, died on Calvary for us. And so you have to really, you know, you have to believe that. And I told her, I said, I can't force you to, you know, believe. You have to really search for yourself and really encounter God for yourself. So I encouraged her, I said, get into the scriptures, read the Bible. She said she believed in God, she believes in the Bible, she's just not a Christian. And I said, everything in the Bible points to Jesus. So
well, what was she if she wasn't a Christian?
She's kind of, I think she's just like a lot of young people that are out there that just like, they believe in God, but they just don't know because of what they see that's like religious, right? They don't really understand the relationship that you can have with God and how he loves us. And so I just encouraged her, I said, you need to search it out and seek for yourself and have that experience.
Whoa, whoa.
The funny thing is, in life, we have faith about all kinds of things. You know, when you're being taught in school about history and social studies and science, a lot of it takes faith to believe because you weren't there doing this scientific research. You weren't there historically. There's so many things in life that take faith, and even some things, you know, like Mother Nature and all these other things that people will refer to. But then when it comes to religion, it's like a different plane, you know. It's just like, okay, well, that's an old book and I don't want to believe in that. And I think that's a lot of people think that way. It's just an old book. First of all, the Bible is historically accurate.
That's right.
You can
That's
line
right.
this
And
up
scientifically.
with
That's
history.
right.
The Bible is historically accurate. And so I think that you have to start from that point and move forward from there. And you made the exact point that I was going to say. We are the only ones that had our Creator that sacrificed himself to save his creation. No other religion does that. No other God does that. And why is Christianity attacked so much? Because it's the true religion. That's why it's attacked so much. That's why Satan uses, you know, he knows that it's real. It says in the Bible that even Satan believes, you know, in God. Even Satan believes. So he knows that it's real. That's why it's
Satan
attacked.
spent time with God,
Exactly.
so it's not even. But the thing of it is in today's society, they are bombarded with so much more than when we came up, you know. And so you guys have the New Age, which there's nothing new about New Age. As Solomon said, there's nothing new under the sun. You know, when you are watching shows and less people actually read their Bible. I mean, being one that ministers the gospel, and when I found that I can do very foundational teachings and people are like, whoa,
They don't know.
like,
They
wow,
don't.
was that in the Word? You know, and they don't know the Word. And so you can't know God without knowing his word. The other thing is that a lot of people they're led by experiences. And we did a show once and we talked about, you know, signs. Do you have to follow a sign? And this is why the word talks against that, you know, because people begin to follow the sign or seek the sign, and they're not seeking after God himself. This is an age-old question from back in Jesus's time. I mean, the religious people didn't even recognize Jesus when he came on the scene because of what they believed. So there has always been a plethora of religions and different belief systems. How do you know that it's true? I say, step out in faith, because everything you do is by faith. I'm sitting in this chair and I have faith that this chair is going to hold. Oh yeah, it's going to hold me up. Okay, so but, you know, everything you do. If I pick up this cup to take a drink by faith, I believe I'm going to swallow it. I'm not going to choke and go cough. So why don't you simply just give Jesus a try?
Give it a chance.
Get in the Word, read the Word. As Corey said, it is historically proven. It is scientifically proven. They couldn't even launch the space shuttle without going to the Word of God.
Yes.
And I believe when you do that, a man that has had an experience is not at the mercy of another man's theory.
Right.
What do you have for us?
Oh, yeah, I am in agreement with what my sisters have said. And, you know, the Apostle Paul said, if in this life all we have as Christians, we are to be pitied. Because Christians often have a difficult life. And in those days, and even now, we see a lot of persecution of many religions, especially Christianity. And what did he point to? And as a lawyer, I love this, the resurrection of Christ.
Come on now.
We are the only religion where our God, as Corey and my sister said, came down to meet us, be like us, and then raise from the dead.
That's right.
And so Paul says our hope isn't in this life. Our hope is in the life to come, because if you just believe in this life, Christians are actually to be pitied. So if we believe in the resurrection, and Paul says, look, hundreds of people saw Jesus, and this is factual, and this is what I love about, as a lawyer, love about the word. Hundreds of people saw Jesus when he rose from the dead. And Paul says, and you can go talk to them now. And so he showed proof, factual proof of the resurrection.
Right.
Amen.
Well, then, you know, all the other religions, we could do a whole show on this question, and I thank you so much for that question. But then I want to know, along this same line, then how do you define spiritual intimacy?
For me, spiritual intimacy is into me you must see. Being able to get in that bridal chamber, get in that intimate place with God. The scripture refers to the word knowing, and he knew, and he knew. You want to get to know God. When you get to know God, that's an intimate interaction. It's not just, I know God like I acknowledge you or I acknowledge God, but to know him intimately. Where did you come from? You came from God. Where are you going? You're going back to God. And so when you get that intimate connection, that's what makes us get out of sort. I believe in every soul, every person, there's a place in you that only God can occupy. And so that is how we get off course, and sometimes we get caught up in addictions of different kinds and just different things we don't have time to get into today. But intimacy is something that you and God will have together if you will just take the time to seek him. It is beyond just knowing he exists, acknowledging he exists. It's a level of relationship.
That's right. And you know, we talk about these kinds of things all the time. And what did you say? Into me
you must see.
Right. And when I think about spiritual intimacy, I think about the fact that we're so busy, we're so busy, we're so busy. And I've been taught to wait on God.
That's good.
Be quiet, Kathy. It's hard for me. Shh. Be quiet and wait for me, and I will fill you with my love. We'll be right back to wrap this up.
I'm sure you enjoyed the show today. I know we did. We talked about so many different things, our differences. What do you value? How do I know that I'm right for being a Christian? But as always, more than our opinion, we like to leave you with the word. And today, we're coming out of 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 15. This is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptance, that Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, of whom I am chief. Whoa. It's so humbling because it takes me back. You know, sometimes even as Christians, we kind of lose sight of what it was like before we gave our lives to the Lord. And we just want you to know that here on Sister to Sister, where we have the honor and the privilege to sit and share with you our life experiences, most of all, what we're trying to get across to you is what the Word has to say in response to the questions that are being asked. We want you to understand that our Jesus is real, and that it is because of him and the blood that was shed on Calvary, because we didn't get to talk about that. That is what makes the difference. And you know what? I, too, can relate to Paul, who was the chiefest of sinners, and so can the rest of us. But you know what? Salvation was the plan to bring us back to the God that loves us so much and created us. We have his spiritual DNA.
Oh my gosh, I love you, Flo.
I love you.
I love you, and I love you too. And we end with this scripture too. As iron sharpens iron, so does the countenance of a man or a woman or a sister sharpen the other. We'll see you next time on Sister to Sister.